And so those folks live somewhere else and drive in and out. Long term, that's not a good solution for the city of Hillsboro. We need to be building, and it's gonna need to be a pyramid. You're gonna need to have more inexpensive houses than more expensive and less expensive houses. But we can't afford to get flattened out like a pancake. So we are gonna be really, really interested in looking for ways to incentivize the construction of houses that are 2,000 square feet and above, $300,000 to $400,000 houses, and we don't need 300 of them, but we need 100, at 300,000 and above, varying levels. So, if that doesn't sound like you, that's not at all. We need more of everything, but just know that in terms of what we're gonna be looking to jump through hoops to help make happen, it's gonna be, houses that are where we've already got services and houses that help us diversify, the kind of product that we can offer people.
Any comments?
Have you thought about changing some of your restrictions in the city limits of Hillsboro?
Yes.
Because Patton's Mill, when they did their development out there, they did add some additional restrictions. That I think helps it look a little cleaner out there. When you're not allowed to park on the streets with the RV and boats. And, Stone Ridge, you can already tell there's a lot of cars already parking on the street because most families have got 3 vehicles. So, I don't know, I know some of the restrictions in Hillsboro are very loose. You allow a chain link fence instead of a wood privacy fence. And certainly, we've got lucky with Stone Ridge that everybody went with the wood fence, but they certainly didn't have to because we didn't put the knowledge out there, to be honest. So I think some of that is gonna need to change, as we put more development in, to ask those developers to be a little bit more, not just go off the basic restrictions of what you guys currently have filed.
Thank you. So in the planning process, and it's gonna feel like, if you guys are reading the paper and following what the city's doing, it's gonna feel like we're just planning ourselves to death. But there's a reason for it. So we did the strategic plan to hear from people and set a bunch of specific goals around what do we want Hillsboro to be? Like, how do we want to grow as we grow? Knowing that sets us up to walk into the next step of the process, which is comprehensive planning, which is gonna take those goals and apply them to the map. Where do we need development that looks like this? Where do we need development that looks like that? And where we change those development patterns in our zoning, it's gonna change our subdivision regulations and what can be built and how those neighborhoods need to look and feel. Because not every neighborhood is gonna be successful with the exact same regulations.
As a city, kind of went in the direction of some of these structures that are just pretty dilapidated, and need to be taken down, and people aren't keeping them up. And, I know you create some enemies and stuff when you start doing those kind of things, but in the end, you end up getting a lot more favoritism.
I'm so glad you asked that
Because
question.
the fact is, there's these people that are just, structures that have been sitting there for quite some time that they're beyond repairable, and we're not trying to beat anybody up, but on the other hand too, those people are beating people up that are trying to keep their property maintained and maintain their values. So they're pulling those people down. And I know it's a tough one to call, and it's you're gonna upset some people when you do it, but in the end, it's a lot better for everybody. And there's just some structures that need to go away. And if you gotta put the full court press on them to get it done. But the fact is, if they're not gonna improve it, if it's a structure that's either the appraisal district can value it so much money that they want to tear it down, things like that.
In January, we started our Buildings and Standards Commission back. It was dormant for a long time, many years.
Yeah.
So we have our Buildings and Standards Commission back. And in April, I started working cases again on dilapidated houses. And by the end of this month, I'll have identified about 9 properties already that I'm working on currently.
kind of putting
Every month I'm. gonna
legal
try to
pressure
do
where
report.
they gotta do something.
Yeah,
Yes.
demolition orders have, or remediation orders have been issued already on 3 structures.
Yes.
And if they don't do that, does the city go in there and, take care of the demolition and then turn around and put a lien on the property for the amount that it costs to get it done? Or is that typically the procedure,
So
We
they,
are empowered to do that.
yes, we're currently giving them a timeline to get it taken care of. If they don't, then I write citations for a certain amount of time. Then after that, we're gonna go in there and.
the next step is going in
And possibly.
demo and-
Yes.
and then they get a lien on their property for the amount of the demo and things like that? And I know it's a long process, but the fact is, I mean, it's something you don't wanna have to address, but it has to be addressed. Because if not, I mean, I've made the mistake of, in another area of, building somewhere where the stuff just wasn't quite up to par, and next thing you know, you've got something there that's pretty new and nice structure, and you can't get the appraised value for it, so then you can't get it sold for the amount of money because it won't appraise right. It's a bad situation so therefore, anyone that's kind of experienced that, they're pretty standoffish about wanting to build in amongst some of that stuff.
We're
And,
working on it, yes, sir.
yeah, I understand, and I know it's a tough deal, but, I hope that, y'all can make some progress toward that.
The fire department works with some of the property owners and they use it for live burn training.
Sure.
People who come from all over the country because they can't be live burn trained
Right,
wherever they live.
sure,
And then the city takes it down
right.
in exchange.
Well, I know it's a long process and stuff.
I can tell you, it is and it has been a high priority for the council.
Yes.
Eric will back me up, that these substandard structures, take away from the beauty of the town, and we realize that they should be, and we made a lot of progress in the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, I know it's a continuing process and it doesn't happen overnight, so.
But got a big supply.
But, oh, sure, you got a big supply and it's a kind of keep your nose to the grindstone thing. That's just
Sometimes
part of it.
it's hard to budget enough money
Oh, sure.
each year to take down as many structures as you can.
Right.
We've got a pretty big number in there for next year.
Hey, that's good news, I mean, as long as the city's making a conscious effort, that's all we can ask for. Sure. That's all we can ask for.
That's why I think this is important. There's a lot of things going on that the city's doing
Sure.
that people are not aware of. And I think it's important people ask questions for that, especially potential builders.
Right.
So, comps that are being compared to a new house and your neighborhood and stuff, we were having problems there for a while. And now, I think it's gotten a lot better in that
Well,
area.
it has, because, I mean, your prices have came up on new construction, so
Yeah.
you're getting better prices, but there's been times where,
Yes,
obviously, we know that the market wasn't strong enough, and you go stick something over there amongst that, and then it's like, oh, what do I do now,
well, that was hurting us years
Sure.
ago on new start. I think that's why, we were not busy at that time.
Right.
Activity breeds activity.
But you'll get more new starts, as,
Yes.
you address those things, we all know that.
We're already
Perfect.
there.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Well, I just commend you for doing it, because it's a tough step.
But behind the scenes, we've done a lot of work.
How many rehabs are being done right now? You drive through town and there's a lot of them going on.
Yes, we have more remodels going on than we have new housing right now starting. I would say, if I had to guess, I don't have the exact numbers, don't hold me to it. I bet we have close to 30 remodels.
It's ever right in front of our office.
Yes,
And a lot of those houses been sitting there for a while. And
yes, sir. Yes,
The market has helped that, so
Yeah.
there again, the market's done that, and as long as the market stays strong, then people can benefit from it, but.
we've met with outside contractors from other cities, and that's all they do is they build or buy the old homes, rehab them for that, because there's a market for it. So, we're a prime location for that.
Yeah, and that's really good for Hillsboro.
Yes,
One of the things that makes us unique is that we've got architecture that nobody else has. We're not like some of these new cities that everything kind of looks the same. But a lot of it has not been taken care of, and we want to encourage people to do that work. And we want to be just as aggressive about encouraging that as we
Oh,
do
yes.
new construction.
Because of remodeling is very, very important here. There's a lot of good homes that can be saved.
One obstacle that I've kind of ran into quite a bit on your map that you're showing up here, where there's vacant lots that can be built on. There's a large percentage of those property owners that they just don't sell.
Yes.
You know, you just go right down the list and the answer is no, you know, so it's good enough to get something done. Nobody wants to give up what they got. And they don't want to build on it either, so it just sits there. I mean, I've got that, yeah, hands are tied, I mean, I've got that answer covered.
That's one thing that rising property values will help with a little bit. You know,
Right.
it's not great news for property values to go up for lots of reasons. But if it becomes more expensive to just hold stuff that you're not doing anything with,
Yeah.
then people can become a little bit more motivated to make decisions.
Exactly.
Are you prepared to talk more about city-owned properties at all?
A little bit, you know, when I got here, I expected that we would have, 50 or 100 lots struck off to the city that we were sitting on, and we don't. So lots that were struck off years ago, the tax attorneys will take back up at auction periodically, and see if they sell, and they have sold off most of our inventory. We've kind of said, stop, don't put any more back up, so that we can use the ones that we still own, for either for specific use. We've got some property around McDonald Street, that's gonna need to be held because it's in the floodplain for drainage improvements, but some of the property around there, we did a request for proposal recently. Jessica Dancy here is on our Housing Finance Corporation board, and that board is one of many different city commissions that advise us on these changes that we're making. Housing Finance is really looking into what are the city's residential needs going forward, how many of what different level and where would those things go. They're kind of our work group really focused on this. And so Housing Finance Corporation Board directed us to issue a request for proposal, and then they did the selection process for 8 city-owned lots south of the junior high. Those lots were in what I think could objectively be described as not a great neighborhood. And they sold for, give or take, $18,000 a piece. So if that gives you an idea of property values, they're not appraised for anything like that. We're not going, people think that we in the appraisal district are like this and they go out and raise values because we tell them to. That's not true. We don't go and try to get the appraisal district to change values or anything. So they don't know this. The lots are valued at like $6,000 on the books. But they are selling, and we've got another, how many do we have? Probably 7 or 8.
Something like that, yeah.
There are a few more down around McDonald Street. There are a few on the west side of Hillsboro that we have to extend a street about a block to serve. And then there are a handful that are around the old clinic property on the north side of Craig Street. And there are a few other places that I've been looking at to try to creatively put some stuff together.
Those are city-owned lots.
Yes. And we will be issuing requests for proposal for those properties. The ones on Craig Street in particular, we're gonna wanna see a bigger, nicer house.
You know, hopefully the president just will use those $18,000 values on some of those lots and raise up some of these taxes from these people that are just sitting there holding them. And that may give them some incentive to sell. You know, and then of course, I don't know if there's any way to create some sort of program or something where people can get an incentive to either sell a vacant lot or get incentive for building on a vacant lot that's been there. Type situation, in fact, it could be dream up some sort of plan for that. That would definitely get could help get things moving in the right direction.
That's one of the things that we hope to learn from you guys. what are some things that the city can be doing, that would help more deals get done? What are things that are preventing more deals from happening? Help us understand the market a little bit better and where we can be helpful. And I see people giggling, that tells me you have ideas.
No, we just have problems, it's not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the fact is, I mean, there, some builders will be more active, want to build in some certain areas if it was a little cleaner. We talked about cleaning some stuff up. And then there's some other properties where, people are just sitting on vacant lots that have no intention of doing anything with them. And they're not selling them because they don't want someone next to them, or they're not selling them because they just don't need to want the money. And so you could dream up some kind of situation where they might, oh, well, let's rethink that, that might be it. That's about the only thing you're gonna get done. Somebody's gotta move, Someone's gotta give somebody some incentive to either sell or wanna buy, or a builder wanna build a house over in that little spot right over there. Because that went away and that went over there went away too. Cause that's.
I'm Randy Summons, and everybody else you know me. What about the infrastructure? This wild need that you're talking about. I mean, I've had some cases where infrastructure within the city, and people we visited with on it, they were a little less than helpful. So, what about utilities? I mean, sewer, water, everything, drainage, what do y'all do on any of that?
Yeah,
A
so
lot of it's already
a lot of it's what?
old,
Yes.
bad shape.
Yes. Where we own infrastructure or we already serve the area, so let's say the lots south of the junior high. The sewer service to that area, that area has never been very densely developed as far as I can tell. And so there's a line here, there's a line down here, these people are served through the back of these other people's property, and we're just gonna run the lines where they need to be. Because we've got development coming in, we're gonna put the infrastructure right. Those streets are not gonna get hot mix asphalt because we can't afford hot mix asphalt everywhere. But the streets will be redone in the affordable way that we will be able to do it to meet those development needs. Areas where we're talking about new subdivisions, the developers will be putting in that infrastructure.
I think I know which one you're talking about, is the one we did,
Yes.
last year?
Yeah.
One thing that Randy, we got a new water tower that's being built, and it'll be online soon, we're letting, roll pretty soon.
Yeah, well, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree with you, we got some data information on
Yeah.
that, but I think that's gonna be cured with what has been proposed and how this is gonna be, activated to it, so I think that's something that we're not able to do. Everybody's so quiet.
Well, I've got about a 300-foot extension on water sewer that I'm gonna have to install on some lots. And so, of course, there's, right here at the edge of the property, there is, existing utilities that the city has their own existing houses and stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's not gonna be an easy check to write, but obviously, the easier that the city can make it, it'll make it easier to usually write that check. But we're just gonna move forward on that.
Yeah.
Hope for the best results, maybe get it done the best timing fashion we can. So far, so everything's going okay, we just have to move forward.
Wanna make sure it stays that way.
Well, sure, I'm not more important than anybody else, you gotta wait your turn.
Folks that are in businesses that serve the development process, we've got a couple of different financial interests here, we've got realtors here. Any of the rest of y'all have anything to say to the group or add or ask?
I'll
I'll throw out that, my name's David. I'm with Seasons Holdings. We do our own real estate. Personally, I'm in Itasca and Milford, doing stuff, helping. In Milford, to help us straighten, talking about some of the issues, I went to the city council and bought the asphalt millings and filled the potholes in front of the school myself. Of course, it helped my lots, but it was also, I would watch people driving through a minefield, picking up kids from school. We're also a lender. We loan money to people that flip houses or build houses. But to answer a question that would come up is, how do we determine what we're gonna loan? It's not a bank, we're not a mortgage company, so we're not loaning 100% value. We're loaning to a percentage of what the completed value would be. And that completed value is based really on sold comps. So what's happening in that area. So, if somebody came in and said, that neighborhood was full of $150,000 or $200,000 houses, but they came in and said, we're gonna do this house, we're gonna sell it for $300,000. If the comps in the area don't support it, then we're not loaning that money. I mean, we're a lender, so we're a private money lender. We don't have people. We've done quite a bit. Just to give you an idea, we did $60 million in loans last year, and we're not just in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're in Abilene, Waco, Gainesville, Whitesboro, you name it. We've done loans here in Hillsboro for people that have come in and redone houses.
30 houses in Itasca.
Yeah, and then we're helping build like 30 plus houses in Itasca and doing the same in Milford. So, and that's also a personal interest. I'm not just an outsider. I live in Carrollton right now, but about once a month I might be spending a night in the team room over at Hill College because my son's been the soccer coach there for 11 years. So I'm an emergency bus driver. So when I come down to drive the bus, I'm not, if it's midnight when I'm getting back, I'm just not plowing back up to, it takes me an hour and 20 minutes door to door. So sometimes I just crash out in the team room or at Steve's house over in Itasca and just chill for it. But people have asked me about Hillsboro for years, and ever since my son's been down there. And it's just been a town that's been waiting. That's an outsider view. There's stuff happening now, but it's just been waiting. You had the outlet malls, you had different things, but it's sitting here ready to explode. I know the college would even do more, but it's just on the cusp. And you've got a lot of good things happening. I mean, when we did the loans for the guys coming down and redoing houses and selling them, I mean, we would go down and do more. That's not a problem, but it's just, when you're looking for what the loan is based on, the loan's gonna be based on completed value of what's been sold. And then it comes off of a percentage of that. And that's really what we do. So we're not the bank. You can go to the bank, and if that's cheaper, that's great. We're also here for a bridge for people that can't get to a bank or the bank won't. So for a property that's not loanable, or a person that's not lendable necessarily at the bank, we fill that void. So that's what we are. So, but aside from that, I'm also interested in whatever I can do in any town to help. I mean, I didn't fill potholes myself, but Steve and I filled potholes on two weekends up there ourselves. The city didn't have enough labor, they didn't have enough people. We bought the material, brought it in, and used this tractor, and we filled them ourselves. So people came out and asked us, what's the city doing working today? It's not the city. This is being done for the city. So don't worry about, but I understand what he's talking about, putting the water line in. I mean, I'm helping some guys up there that are putting in a little subdivision in Milford. And it's, you get into different things. I heard Ms. Henderson talking about the street improvements. Different towns have different improvements. In Milford, they have their subdivision ordinance. They wanted concrete streets. I said, okay, the guys are gonna put in a concrete street. Are y'all prepared to repair that concrete street when it gets the pothole? That's what you want, that's what'll go in, but I don't know that you're set up to go handle it because you were having trouble over here filling in an asphalt pothole. So that's, I know there's grants that people can go get, but we lend money to people that are in that community. So that's what we do. So you may view me as being an outsider, that's fine. I'll tell you, I've been in Hillsboro as much as anybody over the past 11 years, except if you actually live here. So it's got to be able to incentivize the end buyer sometimes. So but if you got any questions, I'll be here afterwards before I go. But it's just, We're just a different part filling a void on the money side.
If anybody wants a brochure, we've got some. The way we found out about the meeting is, I shop at Eric's Ace, and, so we've been shopping there for a few years, he told us about it.
I'm with Citizen National Bank, and we do interim financing, and, we do it with 20% down, 20% on the purchase, 20% on the improvements. One thing that we would want is good plans when you come in. A lot of times people come in and they'll say, I got this, it's gonna cost that. They really don't know what everything's gonna cost. And right now with the price of lumber, doors, windows, it's all changing. I need a good plan whenever the time comes that you need. We're doing some interims, we're doing some rehabs, and so I'd like to talk to you.
I'm glad you said about plans. Please, guys, don't come in with a set of plans drawn on internet. Chris, made this work good.
And specifically, how everything
Very much so. You would not believe how many times they would walk in with those, especially remodels. We have to be very, there's gotta be a little bit more specific about that. It helps. We just tell them, go see Richard.
What else? Real estate? What are y'all seeing in terms of, what are people looking for?
I usually have people looking for bigger than 1,500 square foot homes, so bigger homes. So, 1,200, 1,500 square foot is not a lot of people don't like a 0 lot line. They want a bigger lot, which I know that we don't always have that here to discuss that in our meeting, in the planning committee meeting, but, I usually have people looking for a little bit bigger homes on bigger lots, and there's not any here, so.
What size homes?
Well, the 1,200, 1,500 square feet, I mean, your bedrooms are 10 by 10, or 11 by 11.
Very true.
The living rooms are tiny, they're cute homes, great starter homes, but when you have a family, like 3 or 4 kids, you're not fitting in that. So, I mean, I usually have people looking for like 2,000 square foot, home, definitely bigger than 1,800 square feet. And you have the same.
I mean,
Usually 1,800 or bigger is what people want if they can find it, that I talk to, but we have different clients, so.
well, and I think, I've been in real estate here for 25 years. I'm Jamie Siddons with Jimmy Siddons Realtor, so, as time goes, things change. I mean, we first initially started, when Stone Ridge started, I couldn't get anybody to go over there. It was a total different, area, nobody wanted to go in there. And so it took time to convince people to get in there. And once we did, it was actually just at a timing in 2018 when Steve Johnson came in and really started building. And we had to start out small because at that point, I mean, people were only looking to spend so much at $150,000, I think is what it was when we first started. So we started out small because we didn't want to get too big. Obviously, as we went along with that street and into Hubbard, Hubbard was a smaller lot, so it had to stay smaller, but we went along, there was one that wanted 1,800 square feet, so we started finding that, okay, as time 2019, 2020, people are looking for bigger homes, and so we were able to, people willing to spend more as well, because the interest rates dropped, so obviously the square footage went up. We do have definitely a market for it, as Hillsboro now is growing, things are changing. There's that market, for bigger homes for sure. We just recently sold one on Stone Ridge that was a custom built over 2,000 square feet. It was listed at $375. That home is sold. So there is definitely a need. Can we do it every day? No. But there is definitely I think you're right. We have to do a pyramid. So we just have to cover all bases. And 65-foot lots are on that side on Stone Ridge, which is outside of town. They can't fit 2 big homes. It looks pretty tight in there. So we'll have to look at areas that can be maybe a little bigger, that people want to go in there and build a little nicer, bigger homes. So we do have it, we do see it, you know, as Hillsboro grows, more corporate executive, different things are gonna come in, and we're gonna have that need for, we're gonna have more money. We have to be careful where we are financially right now, we're still difficult, I mean, we're not gonna have people every day making that kind of money in this area. So until we get more development too here, then people make that kind of money to afford it, we certainly sell it. So, that's kind of my thing on it. Things are good, things are happening, we'll see what this next, interest rates are a little concerning. So far, we're still doing very well, things are still moving, very quickly, but we'll see what that brings us, into the fall market and then the next 2 years. So, hopefully, maybe things will change and go a different direction. I don't know, but, so, we'll see. I do have a little subdivision that I would like to talk to you. I don't want to really do all this in public, but I have one of my sellers here that we'd like to meet with if we could, Megan Henderson and Art, to talk about it. So,
Yeah, I think we see you coming.
Huh?
I think we see you coming.
yeah. So, if it can't be tonight, we can maybe be 4 days late, that would be great. So, and certainly, we'd like to be kept in the loop as real estate agents. I mean, we'd like to be kept in the loop. If there is something that y'all know that you're gonna be selling, you've got lots that are available. We do have investors that are constantly texting us or calling us every day, like, hey, we're looking for something to flip. You know anything? So if there is a house that you know that you're gonna take back, that, you know, might be worth us giving it to an investor and let them, rehab it, we'd like to know about it, so. And I don't care if you're just us, you can be, you know, I'll contact all the agents, if you'd like to be informed about it.
I don't wanna, make this drag on if people's questions have all been answered. Similarly though, I'm here, we're here, and we wanna be transparent and accountable and available. So if people have questions for us, questions about the city, questions about this process, I mean, I'm here for the duration, but if everybody's said what they needed to say and heard what they came to hear, I wanna leave it open.
Sure appreciate y'all coming out though.
Right.
Yeah, I guess going once, going twice, anybody else have any